We're now pleased to recognize 6 individuals who are receiving Faculty Staff Inspiration Awards. The Faculty Staff Inspiration Awards are funded, as you've learned tonight, by the earnings from the Nancy and Richard Degner Alumni Association Endowment. Again, join me in thanking Rich and Nancy because they're going to kill me anyway, but thank you for your generous support. And as a reminder, the Alumni Association established this award 12 years ago as a way for former ISU students to recognize current or former ISU faculty or staff members who had a significant influence in their lives as students at Iowa State. Tonight, we have asked the nominators to speak on behalf of each award recipient. You may also read in detail about the award recipient in tonight's program. I will introduce the individual we have asked to speak about the awardee, and they in turn will tell us about the recipients. Honorees will then come to the stage where we will acknowledge them and take photographs. Award recipients will make brief remarks and then return to their seats. Our first award recipient is Sarah Bennett George. Sarah is a 3-time Iowa State alumna with bachelor's degrees in art and design in 2006 and in psychology in 2011, and a master's degree in 2011 in family and consumer sciences. She is an Iowa State University professor of apparel, merchandising, and design. Speaking on behalf of Sarah is her nominator, Lindsay Scahalin. Lindsay was a 2024 Iowa State graduate. Before graduating, she was the managerial producer for the Iowa State 2024 The Fashion Show. Here's Lindsay's video.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Scahalin and I'm a recent graduate of Iowa State. Recent meaning literally this past Saturday. I'm so excited and honored to be here with you all virtually tonight to present my greatest mentor and role model during my time at this university, Sarah Bennett George. I first met Sarah during my freshman year, which began in August of 2020. Starting college in the middle of a global pandemic meant that my first year of school consisted of social distancing in the lecture halls and wearing a mask everywhere you went. That was about as lonely and unwelcoming as you can imagine, but it was awesome 272, fashion show production and promotion, taught by Sarah herself, that gave me my first taste of what college classes could really be like. In the midst of online classes that I completed each day in my dorm bed, I was fortunate enough to attend Sarah's class in person each week. And then, in the spring, I was a part of the actual fashion show class itself, led by Sarah each Wednesday night. For me, and at least over 1,000 students involved, the fashion show has been my favorite thing that I've ever been a part of, whether that's at Iowa State or well before that. I've been involved each year where I've been lucky enough to get to know Sarah more and more as I've gotten older. I could literally go on for hours talking about how incredible of a mentor and leader Sarah is and how she has been over the last few years. However, it's a Friday night, and if I did that, we'd probably be here until Sunday morning or afternoon. Sarah leads with pride, confidence, and decisiveness, which I think we can all appreciate, but more importantly, she leads with care, trust, and empathy in her students, colleagues, and friends. This past year, I served as a managerial producer for the Fashion Show 2024. In this year, my co-producers and I worked alongside Sarah very closely to lead the over 200 students involved through every aspect of planning and executing the show. With this role comes a great deal of pressure and a whole lot of expectations. Expectations to be a fearless and flawless leader. Flaws are inevitable in any leader, which we learned through time, but through it all, in our eyes, Sarah was just about perfect, which she would not like me saying to you all tonight. She taught us the soft skills that everyone yearns for and everyone wants to put on their applications and talk about in interviews. Patience, resilience, accountability, the list goes on and on. Like I said, I could talk about Sarah and my admiration for her for hours on end. However, I believe that there's truly no better person to hear from other than Sarah herself. Sarah, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be here with you tonight, but congratulations, I'll see you soon, and thank you for everything you've done for me over the last 4 years. I can't wait to stay in touch with you through the future and to always come back and visit you as much as I can. Please welcome to the stage, Sarah Bennett George.
Well, boy, how do I top Lindsay? So first and foremost, I do want to offer my sincere thanks to all my former students who nominated me. Audrey, Dorothy, Emily, Aaron, Mary Kate, Megan, Sam, and of course Lindsay, who also does deserve a big congratulations for graduating just a week ago. It's honestly so humbling that so many amazing women were willing to take time out of their busy lives to nominate me for this award. I was leaving a meeting earlier this year where my colleague Sarah Marchetti introduced me to someone by telling them what incredible work I do with the fashion show. I responded the same way I always do, that the great work is really a credit to the students and their constant drive and persistence to keep the show growing and improving year after year. Sarah chided me that I shouldn't sell myself short, and I said, I don't think that I am. My strength is not in the vision for the show. My strength is in creating the space and the structure that provides the foundation for my students to do really incredible things. And I never really put it that way before that conversation with Sarah, and it kind of surprised me when I said it, but I really think it's true. I'm very good at providing that platform for my students, and I'm really proud to be good at that. But it makes me even more proud to hear my students say that me being good at that has made a difference in their lives. I may be receiving this award because a number of my students were inspired by me, but I would not be good at my job if I did not receive so much inspiration from them on a near daily basis. My husband jokes sometimes when I get home that he can tell when the last thing of my day was with students rather than the last thing of my day being faculty senate, because I just come home happier. It's a privilege to get to work with such incredible young people. I meet most of them in their first year on campus and get to watch them grow up during their 4 years at Iowa State. I get to see them become confident problem solvers and decision makers who achieve things their younger selves would not have thought possible. And I'm full of gratitude that I get to do a job where I can put my strengths empowering others to good use. And I get to see my students, my team really, surprise themselves and accomplish incredible things as a result. I also want to take a minute to thank my husband, John. You always tell me I don't get enough credit for my work, but I don't think you get enough credit either. I get to spend my days at work supporting my students, and I can do that because I know I have you at home to support me. Thank you for encouraging my ambition, putting up with all the weird stuff that comes along with doing the fashion show, and always being the person who makes sure someone's taking care of me too. I love you, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Lisa Fontaine, who is an associate professor of graphic design here at Iowa State. Introducing Lisa is Ruki Nuhol Rawa Kumar. Somewhere in there. Please come forward, Ruki. Ruki graduated from Iowa State in 2003 with a master's degree in graphic design. She is a design strategist and leadership consultant at ARC C-Suite Advisory. Ruki.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to everyone being recognized, members of the board. Art GR 571. That should mean nothing to any of you, but it means something to Lisa and me. That's the course that introduced me to Professor Lisa Fontaine. It was in 2001 when she walked into the room with 2 very large binders. I was immediately intimidated, but very impressed. She always had 2 very large binders with her. One binder was full of her work, and one binder was full of tools to show us what we were capable of doing. I've always had the binders from her class because I used them to date. She increased our exposure to everything. Lisa made me fall in love with my field. She increased my exposure to what was possible. Unlike a certain kicker from Kansas City who talks about what women can do in the kitchen, there were certain adults in my life in India who also talked about my potential as a homemaker, and that's why I immigrated here. where I could explore what was possible, my freedom of choice. I was overwhelmed as an immigrant here because I was so far away from everything familiar to me. I came from Chennai, India, to Ames, Iowa, where everything was the opposite. The weather, the food. We actually had cyclones in India. And they slap you silly. But when you sat in Lisa's class, she made ideas click. She made everything make sense. She actually made ideas connect where you didn't think they were possible. That is what we call innovation today. Creativity is the most sought after skill set in every field. And yet, people like Lisa go unrecognized every day. I am so thrilled that this woman, after a legendary 37 years as a professor, is getting the recognition she deserves today. She's had over 18 of her graduate students become professors like me and gone on to teach at other universities in the United States and abroad. I've had an amazing career. I got to be at the Smithsonian. In 2022, even though there was a pandemic going on, but we said we were done. I found myself as the acting director of a design museum, and with a very lofty charge of reopening the museum, bringing everyone back to work, and I had to open an exhibition called Designing Peace. At that time, there were 47 active global conflicts in the world. Today, there are 110 active global conflicts. We know that people don't get along with people because we like to tell other people what to do. Lisa never told us what to do. She told us to think. She told us to put our pens to paper. She gave us a matrix, and she gave us tools. She made our education relevant. In a world today when everyone talks about education as debt, I have always thought of it as the best investment I have made in myself. Because I treasure my degree, and the reason is Lisa Fontaine. I've had the honor of being the commencement speaker at this school. I have done incredible things. But most of all, what Lisa did for me, starting with Art GR 571, which was a signs and symbols class, was she taught me about value. She taught me how to value myself. She taught me how to think. She taught me the relevance of my education. And most importantly, she taught me about all of the tools that I will use for the rest of my life. My education is the only investment that will never lose its value. And it's because of incredible professors like Lisa Fontaine. She is retiring after a 37-year career. You may be retiring, Lisa, from active service, but you have taught several generations of students who will still be knocking on your door because we don't know who else to ask when we are stumped. So without further ado, it is my distinct honor to introduce the woman who changed my life, Lisa Fontaine.
The flower. I'm sorry, Dave.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So, thank you to the Alumni Association. Thanks so much to Ruki, and also to Emmanuel Saka, who also nominated me and couldn't be here, for always being open to what I was offering and for carrying it forward to new generations of students. I need to also thank the late Ben Day, the first professor who ever showed me that constructive criticism was indeed a compliment and a gift. In discussing career choices, theologian Howard Thurman once advised, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it." Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. In my relationship with graphic design students, each of us enters the classroom interaction with seemingly contradictory goals. Me, to engage my student with challenging problems to solve, pushing them beyond the easy, the predictable solutions, pushing until they discover their creative potential. Them, complete the assignment in the most time-efficient way, and to enable them to balance their busy schedules. My constant pushing for stronger, more developed design solutions just takes too much time that they simply don't have at this moment. If viewed as a conflict of opposing goals, then this would be very frustrating for me as a teacher. And it may have prompted me to leave the teaching profession long before 37 years. But my constant critiquing, the pushing, the nudging, has never really been about the current assignment on the table in front of us. The current assignment is just the beginning of a process that I'm hoping will become a lifelong approach, a process of choosing the greatest challenges, testing and pushing their creative limits. These students don't know it, but I'm playing the long game. I know that if my strategy is effective, they will have taught themselves to set the bar high so that they can continuously discover the thrill of creative accomplishment. As a teacher, I might never see the results of my strategy. Their current design work might indeed suffer from the lack of passion, the skill, or attention to detail, but these are temporary shortcomings that are the result of their overly scheduled lives. But playing the long card, I reassure myself that my high expectations have quietly settled in to their thinking processes, waiting for a future moment to come alive. Thank you.
Our next recipient is Ahmed Kamal. Ahmed was the Willard and Lethea Richardson Professor of Engineering and a Life IEEE Fellow. Ahmed passed away last spring. Speaking on behalf of Ahmed is Mohammed Salim. Mohammed is an ISU double graduate, gaining his master's in computer engineering in 2016 and his PhD in electrical and computer engineering in 2018. Now Mohammed is an associate teaching professor in electrical and computer engineering here at Iowa State. Mohammed.
So thank you all for being here today, and congratulations for those received awards. When I joined Iowa State University in 2014 as a graduate student, I was fortunate to be guided by the extraordinary advisor, Professor Ahmed Kamal. After a few months, I found that this is actually my academic father. Is not a regular advisor. So it was an honor actually to stand here to celebrate a man whose legacy continues to shape our future and career. Even though he is no longer with us, Professor Kamal's wisdom and kindness have left an unforgettable mark on all his students, including myself. Today, we come here to remember and honor an inspiring mentor and remarkable individual. Professor Kamal was not just my PhD advisor for 4 years. He continued to be my mentor and colleague for another 5 years. His guidance provided me with the essential tools and opportunities to pursue my dreams, setting me on the perfect career path. Thanks to his influence, I have been living that dream successfully for the past 6 years. Professor Kamal's dedication extended far beyond my own journey. He invested uncountable hours and energy into over 20 PhD students. In his lab, every student I encountered was deeply appreciative of his kindness and wisdom. He never raised his voice while discussing with any of his PhD students and was always willing to share his vast knowledge with us, creating an environment of respect and learning. In our research meetings, Professor Kamal never told a student they were wrong. Instead, he would simply pause the presentation and say, "I have a question." And myself, every time I hear him saying, "I have a question," I have to return back to the previous 3-4 sentences. What did I say wrong? Because he never tell anyone that you are wrong, or even in the meetings, if we're having discussions, he never get nervous or anything. The only interruption he say, "I have a question," and then will just say his objection in a very polite way. So this gentle approach actually encouraged thoughtful discussions and learning without discouraging any one of us. All of Professor Kamal's students deeply appreciated his patience and kindness. Behind his back, every student spoke of him with admiration and high regard, reflecting the profound respect and gratitude we all felt for him. This inspired me to create an appreciation poster in the honor of him. I'm bringing this with me here to show everyone. By the way, he's having at home a bigger one. This is only a smaller version of it. So I started actually to, around 2020, to gather heartfelt statements from his current and former students. And by 2021, I was able to present him with that poster. Let me quickly share a sentence from each of these appreciation statements from his students, because I know if I'm going to read all of them, we are going to stay here until midnight. Al-Masoud said, "Professor Kamal knows how to put his students on the right track that matches their interests, backgrounds, and abilities." Saifan said, "You were not just a supervisor, but also a big brother, a friend, and a supporter." Al-Shara said, "Although I graduated a few years ago, you are always here listening to me and providing me with the sincere advice on any topic." Abdul Qadir said, "I also admire his attitude towards any of my mistakes, where you always find him saying, 'We all make mistakes. What matters is which lesson we learn and how it is reflected in our lives.'" Sahuta said, "Learning from Professor Kamal's approach to solving research problems greatly benefited me as a PhD student and has continued shaping my work ethic in the professional world." Aladdin said, "My wish is to be like you someday." Al-Nabulsi said, "His support after my graduation is unlimited. He never stopped spending his time for helping me in my career through his continuous advice and deep vision." Al-Karaki said, "Your efforts have never gone unappreciated, and you have helped me out more than you know." Hisham said, "I strongly believe that many of your students, me included of course, received unique advantage of having their career advisor be an active and effective. Al-Qasir said, balancing the demands of my thesis with family responsibilities was incredibly challenging, but Professor Kamal's support made it manageable. Mirzad said, thanks for helping me, especially when I was not doing great, and thanks for the laughs at Perkins. UJ said, Dr. Kamal was patient and encouraging during those times and gave me the strength and confidence to continue and eventually finish my PhD program. Tamer said, his influence on me to learn more and his guidance was a major reason for my success. Min Song Yun said, also, he didn't treat me unfairly at any moment of my time during my PhD and tried to support me with his best on everything. Shakil said, Professor Kamal challenged his students to explore uncharted territories, think critically, and innovative. I promise this is the last one. Nazar said, his wisdom, calmness, fairness, and never-ending support was a pillar that solidified my ground and pushed me through some of the hardships of my academic career. So as I conclude, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone who helped make this Inspiration Award possible. Professor Kamal's students continue to benefit from his wisdom, kindness, and dedication. Let us carry forward the lesson he imparted and strive to honor him, his memory in our professional and personal lives. Thank you. For now, I would like to invite Mrs. Kamal to receive his award.
Good evening. My name is Nermeen, and I am Dr. Ahmed Kamal's wife, widow. I am very humble and very honored to be here today to accept this award on his behalf. Although that I wish he will be here to enjoy his achievement. I have mixed feeling coming here today after a year of his passing. But I felt maybe that will make him feel better that I will come and receive this award on his behalf. Ahmed will be remembered for many things, but we cannot forget his hard work, his dedication, and his commitment to his students, whom he considered to be family members. I thank so much the organizers, the sponsors of this nice event, and I thank so much the nominators who nominate Ahmed for this award, from previous students, from colleagues, and especially from Dr. Salim. Thank you so much.
We're going to pause here and say, Nancy and Rich, thank you. Thanks for making this possible. Our next recipient is Karen Miskell Larson, who is a 1975 hotel and restaurant management Iowa State graduate. Karen was the former Iowa State University Associate Director for Catering before retiring in 2010. Speaking on behalf of Karen Larson is Karen Rodekamp. Karen, please come forward. Karen graduated from Iowa State University in 1999 with a degree in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management. Karen has worked for Iowa State in ISU dining for the last 25 years. She is now the director. Karen and Karen.
Thank you, Jeff. So I first met Karen Larson as a student employee at Knapp Storms Dining in the fall of 1996. At that time, Karen was managing the dining center, a newly centralized bakery, and catering operations. Shortly after being hired, I was asked to assist with a catered event for a fundraising event. After that event, I was hooked on the excitement of working catered events, but more so working with Karen. This was the start of my career with ISU Dining. I worked side by side with Karen, learning from her, striving to glean her ability to see the big picture of a themed dinner, or her finesse of making a simple luncheon special by adding just a few touches. I remember marveling at the creativity as she brought pages from Bon Appetit magazines and laying them on the conference table and showing us her idea pulled from multiple publications. I honestly thought she was crazy at times. At the start of every event, I would think to myself, this is spot on. This is exactly how she told us it would be. Whether it was a butterfly cut out of plywood, or sod to cover a buffet table, or the campanile carved out of balsa wood, each and every time, the events were perfect. They weren't only perfectly executed, they were perfect for the customer that they were created for. There are great caterers in the world, but Karen's asset was her ability to make people feel special. Karen has a dynamic personality, a love for life, and those she worked with. As a student in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management, I felt special working with Karen. She took time to mentor me, to teach me and care about me. She gave me the confidence to take what I learned from her and to make it my own for my customers and employees. Today, I connect with Karen through chance encounters at gatherings, but I think of her often. I reflect on the experiences that she gave me and the skills that she taught me. I'm grateful for the time I had under her guidance. After Karen retired from ISU Dining, I continued progressing my career within a department and an organization that she fed my passion for. Today, I'm proud to now be the director of ISU Dining, and so much of what I am today, I must thank to Karen Larson for instilling in me. I would not be where I am without her supporting me as a student employee and seeing something in me that I wasn't quite seeing in myself. So I'm proud to introduce Karen Larson for this award. Thank you.
I feel so honored. I've been retired for 14 years, and I thought everybody forgot about me, let alone give me an award. I would like to thank Karen Rodekamp for nominating me, Jeff Johnson and Alumni Association for the Inspiration Award. Tom Walsh and Stuart Berger were my directors while I was working at ISU Dining. Both were inspiring and great mentors. ISU Dining provided dining experiences for students, alumni, conference services, athletic department, all the areas of the university, inspiring me to do new events. For example, we started food and beverage services for the football stadium, suites, press box, and club section. National Special Olympics, we provided a lasagna meal for 10,000 people. Odyssey of the Mind, we provided 3 different parties in 3 locations simultaneously for 9,000 participants. For years, we assisted students with the Visha cherry pies, and who wouldn't want to help students make the Guinness World Record largest Rice Krispie treat? One summer, all campus dining provided a sit-down four-course dinner under a tent on Central Campus for 3,000 international pig vents. At the end, they were dancing on the table, so it was a success. Just don't tell risk management. One of the best parts of the interaction with student employees, managers, and assistant managers and managers. Some stayed in the food world, and others in ISU dining, and some moved on. To name a few, Jamie McDonald is head of finance for Iowa Ortho. Amanda Wood manages suites for Chicago Bears, and then opened the suites in New York City for the New York Yankees. Scott Litchfield's director of nutrition for all the schools in Ankeny. Erica Behrman, food science and human nutrition teaching professor. Jenny Ross, associate director, ISU Dining. I hired the first chef at ISU Dining, Carla Botel, now working as a teaching professor of practice in the food science and human nutrition at Iowa State University. Again, I would like to thank Karen Rodekamp, new ISU Dining Director, for nominating me. I'm thankful for the Alumni Award to look back at the people who inspired me and the people who I've touched that will continue inspiring future Iowa State students. Thank you.
So,
Our next recipient is Massimo Marengo, who is an Iowa State University affiliate professor of physics and astronomy and a professor in the Department of Physics at Florida State University. Sadly, Massimo was unable to join us this evening. Speaking on behalf of Massimo is Michaela Leonards. Michaela, please join me on stage. She graduated cum laude from Iowa State in 2014 with a physics degree and a triple minor in astrology, biology, and English. Now Michaela is a high school math and science teacher in Naples, Florida.
Hi, everyone. Thank you kindly for your time. My name is Michaela, and I'm here to introduce Massimo. Massimo would correct me if I called him Dr. Marengo. Upon striding into his classroom, I stopped on seeing Daniel sitting front and center, realizing that I had signed up for the wrong course. Oops. I turned to Daniel, and I saw him sketching Massimo. And yes, Massimo, I've got a signed and inscribed print for you. Now that that's off my chest, I can speak to Massimo's mentorship. As an exceptional mentor, Massimo created opportunities for us to eclipse our academic limits. As a result, we grew to new heights. Per aspera, ad astra, through challenges reached for the stars. For example, on a moonless and frigid winter's night in Boone, Iowa, Massimo spent hours demonstrating how to image stars invisible to the eye. After a combined 20 hours of data analysis on the images, there was nothing nebulous about the lab feedback, and I quote, "This lab report is disappointing," accompanied with a grade to match. Frostbitten egos notwithstanding, we doubled down on our efforts and strove towards a new problem-solving zenith. In another example, Massimo mentored me through a research project after I won a research scholarship. Massimo received no compensation. Week after week, Massimo patiently sifted through my code to find the cause of the crash, then sent me away with advice on how to repair it. Most weeks, I resolved the issue just long enough for the repair itself to crash another portion of the code, meaning the fix lasted a few minutes. This calamitous self-propagating cycle persisted until finally, as a result of Massimo's guidance, My code successfully analyzed the entire stellar data set, tens of thousands of stars with hundreds of data points per star. As these antecedent examples illuminate, Massimo dignified our potential as students by repeatedly providing opportunities that challenged our academic limits. As a result, we grew to new heights, to the stars. Per aspera ad astra. Therefore, sincerely and with much gratitude, I am pleased to name Massimo as a very deserving recipient of the Faculty Staff Inspiration Award. And now, per Massimo's request, I will read his prepared remarks. It is a great honor for me to receive this award, and a big regret that personal circumstances did not allow me to be here today with you at this ceremony, meet all of you, and especially Michaela, that I deeply thank for my nomination. Michaela was among the first students that I taught when I joined Iowa State. Before coming here, I had worked for several years as a staff scientist at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory that, being a purely research institution, does not have students or classes to teach. It was 100% research, and for many in my field, that might sound like paradise. Think, no faculty meetings to attend. But after many years, something important was missing. As much as I was enjoying working on the latest image from the Hubble Space Telescope, or the latest trip to a mountaintop telescope in the middle of the Pacific, yes, we do our astronomical observations in Hawaii, as Michaela well knows. What I was missing was the chance to transmit my enthusiasm and love for the scientific inquiry to the next generation of scientists and citizens. Iowa State offered me the chance to realize this dream. But it wasn't so easy. Those first classes were scary, not because of the students, of course. Michaela and her cohort were wonderful and enthusiasts and funny, as when they came to class one Halloween day in full costume. They put up with me when I was still figuring out how all this teaching business was working out, but it was also very rewarding. In the end, what we teach is not a collection of technical factoids that will be surely forgotten 5 minutes after the final exam. What we teach is how to think independently, how to approach new facts and analyze them with one's own mind, how to become whole persons ready to engage with any challenge the future will bring. And yes, the future will bring a lot of challenges. And also learn some astronomy, of course. For 12 years, I called ISU my home. During this time, I had the privilege to meet many students and admire their passion to learn and have new experiences every time I pushed them outside their comfort zone, and their strength, as it was dramatically shown in 2020, when disaster struck and we had to pivot on a dime to remote teaching. That's something I would not have thought was possible if it wasn't for the resilience of ISU students that adapted and endured, showing that their love for learning can overcome what life throws at us. The students at ISU, past and present, are the true treasure of this institution. I am glad that I have been able to inspire some of them, and rest assured that I have received from every single one of them much more than I gave them. Thank you again, Michaela, and all of you for this honor.
Our last recipient for tonight is Catherine Rafferty, who is an Iowa State University Associate Teaching Professor for the Communication Studies program within the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Speaking on behalf of Catherine is Sydney Teets. Sydney graduated in 2019 with dual degrees in psychology and world languages and cultures. She now lives in West Des Moines, Iowa with her family.
Good evening. I'm Sydney. my fellow classmate Amber Lecker and I nominated Dr. Rafferty for this award. In Amber's words, Dr. Rafferty notices. She notices when you're there. She notices when you're gone. She notices if you're having a difficult time. Amber and I would agree that in our many courses at Iowa State, our time with Dr. Rafferty is what we draw from the most in our daily lives. My first encounter with Dr. Rafferty was in communication theory class. As I listened to her share about her love of cooking, half marathons, and daily quizzes, I wasn't so sure I'd have much in common with this lovely but obviously crazy woman. However, soon I found myself absorbed in her enthusiasm for communication theory and her research, studying how to support parents of medically complex children. Senior year, when I asked her to mentor my capstone project, she spent countless hours of her personal time to teach me to analyze interviews and eventually write a manuscript to submit to the Journal of Applied Communication Research. She turned a simple capstone project into a chance to have our voices and the voices of parents heard in the world of supportive healthcare communication. I thought I was learning how to have a successful professional career, but Dr. Rafferty didn't just prepare me for a career. She prepared me for a life. The skills she taught, effective communication, mapping goals, accepting constructive criticism, and believing in myself, to name a few, are so versatile they apply to every facet of my life, especially potty training toddlers. I try to imagine how she felt as I sat in her office and told her, after all her hours of investment in me, that my ultimate dream was not researching or pursuing graduate education, but to be a stay-at-home mom. Today, I can say I happily live that dream, and her support for me has not wavered one bit. My family has undergone a bit of a medical marathon in the past few years, and Dr. Rafferty has been there through it all. One moment stands out in particular. I sat alone in a dark hospital room, tangled in the cords and IV tubes around my newborn son. I had just had emergency surgery, and both of us were slammed with the stomach flu. My phone lit up the room. Despite the sleep deprivation, trauma, and sickness, I smiled in spite of myself. It was Dr. Rafferty, checking in on me and sending me words of encouragement and strength that I needed to hear. She understood, in a way that most people couldn't, the heartache of sickness and navigating the medical field. But more than understand, she knew how to offer helpful support. Back in research, I remember her saying, people very rarely take you up on an offer of, let me know if you need anything. Instead, ask them, can I bring dinner or can I get you groceries? I had no idea how true this was until she was the one sending me Panera. Dr. Rafferty taught me how to truly care for people through her class and research, but she drove home the message by caring for me. Please join in welcoming to the stage a tremendous personal and professional role model, Dr. Catherine Rafferty.
Good evening. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. This adage could not more perfectly describe how I got here today. You see, in May 2003, upon graduating from Dowling Catholic High School, I promised myself I would never live in Iowa. I had a beautiful childhood, richly blessed with lots of great memories, much thanks to my parents and siblings, but I thought that there had to be something more exciting someplace else. I spent the next 6 years earning my bachelor's and master's degrees at the University of Illinois. Champaign-Urbana certainly became my home away from home. I made some lifelong friends and discovered the communication major
my junior year after realizing that political science was not for me. It was through my 2 communication degrees that I met some incredible professors, and these same professors would then help me land my first real job after graduate school, working for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention during the 2009 H1N1 pandemic. I made a short pit stop for a year living in Evanston after realizing that just because you get into Northwestern University doesn't mean that it's the right fit. I spent that next year working for the CDC remote, a skill that would come in handy almost a decade later when teaching online during the height of the 2020 COVID pandemic. Returning to the roots of where my mother was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was my next stop after getting into the PhD program at UW-Milwaukee. In 4 short years, I ended up meeting my husband, getting married, having our first baby, writing and defending my dissertation, and graduating. This frame sits in my office to remind me of that time in spring 2015 when I, along with my husband Dave, decided to say no to a fellowship that I received at the National Cancer Institute, and yes to a job teaching at Iowa State. I vividly recall my first day at ISU. It was Tuesday, August 26, 2015. I had just received a phone call from my mom telling me that my sister would be delivering our nephew and godson, Colby, stillborn. As I walked into Comm Studies 301, Human Communication Theory, I didn't know what to say. I stumbled through my intro and said something like, "I'm sorry, I'm not normally this distracted. My sister's baby just passed away. I don't have a theory for managing this." Without missing a beat, several of my students who I had just met came up to give me a hug. And over these years, these same students would write me thank you cards after the semesters ended, help me start the Family Health Communication Research Lab, and offer congratulations as I welcomed each new baby into our growing family. During my 9 years at Iowa State, I've had the privilege to teach over 2,000 students, and Sydney and Amber are just 2 of those great students. Students who I now call dear friends, and what a gift to see them get married and walk this vocation of motherhood together. I've also had the privilege of teaching college student athletes like Brock Purdy and Alan Lazard, who've gone on to become high-profile professional athletes and put their communication degrees into practice, both on the field and off. What a privilege it is to be a part of each student's journey and have them be a part of mine. I've also met a few colleagues who've become friends, priests who've provided spiritual direction, and our family has gained some remarkable family friendships. This job has also afforded me the gift of time with family, an opportunity to have my kids grow up alongside their grandparents, aunts, uncles, and 11 cousins. I would not and could not be here today if it wasn't for the continuous love, generosity, and support of my husband, Dave, who has agreed to balance the joys and trials of raising a young family while both working, and who's currently at home with one of our sick kids. I also wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the countless sacrifices and support from my mom and dad, who are currently on a plane to Europe to celebrate their 40th wedding anniversary this Sunday. Being a mother and a professor is often challenging. While these 9 years have brought tremendous blessings, they've also had some real struggles, including an emergency C-section and NICU stay at the height of the COVID pandemic, 3 middle ear surgeries that have left me partially deaf in my left ear, my daughter's hospital admission this past February, and more ER visits than I care to count. Our broken humanity much prefers an easier course, to run downhill with the wind at our back, or just pay someone else to do it for you. But it's the hard parts of motherhood that is the best kept secret, and why I think Amber and Sydney wrote the words that they did. Among the daily trials are the hidden doorways that can lead to true joy, greater love, ultimate peace, and holy sainthood. Thank you to my 5 children for giving me that gift each day. Each of you has made me a better person and professor through indescribable joys that cannot compare to any earthly good. The fruit of my labor is what I will be judged upon someday, and I hope that my fruit, both in the classroom and beyond, is abundant and rich, much thanks to His grace and laughter at my original plans. Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause to all of our award recipients. And let's give a round of applause to our presenters, our nominators. Thank you. I want to thank you for sharing such personal and rich information with us this evening. Again, congratulations to each and every one of you. I want to thank all of you again for attending tonight's event. We will conclude tonight's event as we do every event by singing the Bells of Iowa State. My voice is gone, so you all have got to sing loud. The words are on page 3 of the booklet. If you could please stand, please. And the words are on the screen, so I didn't notice that. Green hills for thy throne, and for crown of golden melody, ringing in the hearts of all who bring thee love and loyalty. Dear alma mater, make our spirits great, true and valiant like the bells of Iowa State. That concludes our program. Thank you.